Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the HPC part number CLTD-5. This is a tap and die kit. This is a tool, and I have one taken out here for our review. This is a tool that's going to include a steel hammer tone type finish box or case. Refers to the contents of the case. Okay, and here's what's included. You're going to get the die. The die is going to be used with the fixture. Okay, so the concept is you put your cylinder into the holder. All of this will go into your vise, and then you'll tighten your vise. That's going to obviously clamp down and secure over the neck of the mortise cylinder, allowing you to then take your die and half of a turn counterclockwise to get it seated properly, and then slowly using this die get that cylinder back into a proper threaded configuration. Always use thread cutting fluid. Always use thread cutting fluid. It's the proper way to proceed with cutting threads. And to save your tooling. This set of tools is not inexpensive. Well, here's your tap, and your tap is going to be, that handle's a bit off center, there's a set screw there. The tap is going to be great for fixing the threaded holes in your lock case. Okay, same concept, thread cutting fluid, backwards to get it seated, and then as straight can be, you're going to start to turn that. And I may have needed this set once in my career. However, you only need to need it once for it to pay off. Why people are going to use this? Well, what they'll do is, even experienced people can sometimes get in trouble with a hole in a lock case, whether it be a storefront lock, or in really the case where you'll use this set mostly is in lock cases that are 100 years old or older, and you need to be able to thread that properly because it's been damaged over time, or you've had to literally repair it. You might have a lock case that is so damaged and so irreplaceable that you invest the time to repair it, and a tap and die set could be what is needed to make that a successful recovery of the otherwise unusable hardware. In terms of the lock cases, people will also get those threads started incorrectly. And then a lot of resistance as you're threading it, but you can still get it threaded in. And what you don't realize when you're new to the industry, so to speak, is that you're cross-threading it. Now your cylinder doesn't sit flat at all. So being able to re-tap that with holes can salvage your scenario. You might have a high-security cylinder that you've cross-threaded, and you need to salvage it because it's got a protected keyway or a restricted keyway running through it. Being able to run your die onto that cylinder might very likely salvage your scenario. So you're going to get the holder and the die, and those will obviously go together. You're going to get the tap, and you're going to put your lock case into your vise, or maybe it's already in the door. The door is nice to have as what's holding the lock case, because to the face of the door, you've got that big flat plane. It's easier to tell if you are straight, if your tool or your cylinder is straight into the piece that you're trying to tap. According to the manufacturer, when mortise cylinders and lock cases are new, they screw together without a problem. I, however, find that's not always the case. You might have a hanging shard of metal, and I will use this to just clear that thread to make sure my incredibly difficult to replace cylinder is going to thread incorrectly. So I'll clean that out, especially when I'm dealing with materials of disparate hardness. You've got a brass cylinder, and then you've got a lock case made of something harder than brass. So I'll want to be sure that those pieces go together really nice. If you've got high quality locks, high-end residential locks, Baldwin, that stuff goes together perfectly. You know, grade 1 mortise locks, that stuff goes together. But when you get into dealing with some low-cost, knockoff storefront hardware, you do want to clean those threads out, at least in my experience you do. Oftentimes, a mortise cylinder is forced out of a lock without loosening the retaining screw. So you've got the set screw that holds the cylinder in there. Well, someone goes to take it out. You can get it out. You know, if you put a wrench on it, you'll get it out. But you're going to, because that set screw is in place, you're going to create a gouge around the circumference of your cylinder. Well, you might be able to use the die to be able to salvage that cylinder. Other times, an inexperienced person will force a mortise cylinder into a lock crooked or cross-threading it. Those actions will result in the stripping the threads of the cylinder or the lock case itself. The HPC mortise cylinder lock, tap, and die set was designed to repair this type of damage. The tap can easily be twisted into a stripped lock case, cutting new usable threads into an otherwise ruined lock. The holding fixture secures a stripped mortise cylinder in your vise while you use the die to repair the threads. The tap and die are available separately or come complete in a metal storage box. Okay, we've got a manufacturer's produced video down below showing how it's being used. And again, use thread cutting oil. I've always got a can of, you know, like a 1 or 2 ounce can of thread cutting oil. It does make a mess, but people who make a living installing doors and hardware will absolutely attest to always using not only thread cutting fluid, but more so using lubricant when you're drilling, wax lubricant, things of that nature. There is a link to the installation instructions that are down below. Everything that we've discussed is included herein. They are included with the package. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the HPC products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The name HPC is synonymous with locksmithing tools, probably most famously for their Blitz code cutting machine equipment. If you are a new locksmith, you're going to want to familiarize yourself with their product line as soon as practical, because it won't take very long before you are looking for a product that they only possibly will make. And by the way, those threads on that tap and die, that's your typical 1 in 5/32 mortise cylinder thread type. I don't know when that standard was first applied for mortise cylinders and lock cases, but given the fact that I've installed cylinders into lock cases, a modern cylinder into a lock case, that is for sure, you know, from the year 1900. That standard is incredibly old, and I couldn't imagine that you're going to bump into a requirement other than this thread type for a mortise cylinder, unless of course you're dealing with a peanut mortise cylinder, you know, a 3/4 inch mortise cylinder, something unusual like that. This is going to work out for you. If you're a field locksmith, if you've got a service van and you're out in the field, I couldn't see not having this. It's just a matter of when and not if you're going to need the tool. Any questions on the HPC, their part number CLTD5 mortise cylinder or lock case die and tap set, or any other HPC product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.